HDR in this game is absolutely fantastic. We have a perfect, almost perfect HDR black level floor. We have fantastic HDR specular highlights. And yeah, in my opinion, the HDR implementation could be perfect if... Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. As always, before we start, please do me a very big favor. Please like, share and subscribe. And now let's talk about the almost perfect HDR implementation in this game, tested on my brand new LG G4. Also, please keep in mind that I have just tested the PC version at this very moment. I don't have any access to the Xbox Series X version. If there is any difference in regards of HDR between PC, Xbox and later on PlayStation 5, I will update you, of course. Also keep in mind that all my recommendations, all my testing was done on this LG G4 with HGIG enabled. I found dynamic tone mapping on the LG G4 is way too bright for this game. You will lose a lot of very fine details in specular highlights, but again, this was tested on the LG G4. It can be a complete different experience on the LG CX. But keep this in mind. And now let's talk about the HDR settings, what we have in the game. And we have the maximum peak brightness setting. We have a brightness setting. And we have the user interface brightness setting. And I like to start with the user interface brightness setting because this setting has no impact on the HDR quality in this game at all. So set the user interface brightness to a value what you like. And the next setting what we have is the maximum peak brightness setting in specular highlights. And here with this setting, we have actually an issue. I have seen this already many times on the PC and also in some Xbox and PlayStation games that when you set, let's say, a value of 1000 nits on the in-game settings, then the real output is actually not 1000 nits, and the same is here. So just for an example, if you set this value to 1000 nits in-game setting, then the measurements what I have taken or the real output is roughly around 900 nits, so 100 nits lower than the value what you have set it to. When you have, let's say, an LG G2 with a maximum peak brightness of 1000 nits, you would need to set the HDR in-game setting to 1200 to reach actually 1000 nits. And if you have an LG G4 with a maximum peak brightness of around 1500 nits, then the HDR in-game setting must be set to 2000. Otherwise, you have not enough maximum peak brightness in specular highlights. And because I love you so much, I prepared this little Excel sheet here to actually make it a little bit easier for you to find out what is the right setting for your screen. So please keep in mind that maybe this will change with a future patch and then the setting is actually correlating or is the same as it should be, or maybe then it's matching up. So just keep this in mind. If this is the case with a future update, you will be informed on this channel. And now let's talk about the brightness setting, and at the same time we're talking about the HDR black level floor, which is, by the way, pretty much perfect. The standard factory setting for brightness is 10, and with setting 10, the HDR black level floor is perfect in my opinion. And even you would increase the brightness setting to 100, the HDR black level floor is pretty much still on spot. Of course, not perfect anymore, but you get my point. 100, setting the brightness setting to 100 is already way too much. That means if you just like to increase the setting by, let's say, 5, 10 or maybe 15 points, the HDR black level floor is still absolutely flawless. And now let's talk about my recommended settings for all the TVs, all the screens, all the monitors out there. So I hope you have a couple of weeks time. Of course, it's not that simple, but what I like to recommend is that you make sure that you set up the maximum peak brightness in the game in the correct way. And I mentioned already that there is an issue with the settings. So Just follow my table here. Make sure that the setting is correlating to the maximum peak brightness of your screen, TV or monitor. In regards of the brightness setting, it is not very easy to make a proper recommendation because we have so many different screens, monitors or TVs out there, and I don't know if you like to use HDRG or dynamic tone mapping on, or maybe your screen, TV or monitor is tone mapping the whole time. It is very hard to recommend. The only thing what I can tell you is that with HDRG enabled on my LG G4, I found that the standard factory setting 10 in regards of brightness is, in my opinion, a little bit too less. And after some testing, I found that brightness set to 20 fits my LG G4 pretty good with HDRG enabled, of course, so keep that in mind. I do not recommend to use dynamic tone mapping on in this game because you will just destroy the specular highlights. You will just lose a lot of very fine details in specular highlights. Again, the brightness setting is absolutely up to you because we learned already that even you would like to use setting 100, the HDR black level floor is pretty much on spot. So again, use the brightness setting as you like it. Okay, my friends, so that's it for this video already. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about HDR? I think it's actually pretty good. It's actually a really good implementation. I like it, and I can't recommend to play in SDR at all if you have a proper HDR screen. So this game is really, really good, and I had so much fun playing it, despite the fact that it is actually first-person game, which I'm not the biggest fan of it. Okay, I like actually more Resident Evil type games. Okay, so Resident Evil 2, 3. But this is pretty good in regards of performance on the PC. I can't complain at the moment. Yes, there are some stutters at some point, but it's really on a great level. I enjoyed playing it. I'm looking forward to test the Xbox version as well. And again, if there is a difference in regards of HDR, I will let you know. And last but not least, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.